Shirley Muldowney, auto racing's premier woman driver, moving toward her third Winston World Championship. This race may hold the key. Auto Racing 82 on ESPN. Today, the North Star Nationals from Brainerd International Raceway in Brainerd, Minnesota. The ninth stop on the NHRA Winston World Championship Series of Drag Racing. Brought to you by Budweiser. Remember, for all you do, this Bud's for you. 468 acres carved out of the woods of central Minnesota. That is Brainerd International Raceway, today jammed with thousands of spectators and campers that have spent the entire weekend here. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and this woodsy area has resounded to some record-shattering performances at this inaugural North Star Nationals here at Brainerd International Raceway. A tremendous day of drag racing excitement coming your way, and working with me today, down on the starting line where everything begins, is sportscaster Marty Reed.
Well, thank you, Dave. This is right. This is where it all begins. The 250-inch dragsters and Top Fuel will take off from this point, with 2,500 horses kicking them in the butt and going all the way down to the other end, 1,320 feet away. Back to you, Dave.
1/4 of a mile. That's the distance in championship drag racing, and at that finish line is a man that sat behind the wheel of one of those 2,500 horsepower Top Fuel dragsters, a former Top Fuel champion in his own right, Carl Olson.
Thank you, Dave. We're in the vicinity of the racetrack known as the shutoff area. And down here, we'll be looking for these cars to slow from speeds in excess of 250 miles an hour. We'll be looking for engine problems, interviewing some drivers, and trying to catch the pulse of the race on this end of the course. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Carl. Shirley Muldowney is currently leading the Top Fuel points chase. Marty Reed had a chance to talk with her.
For the 5th time this year in national event action, this lady, Shirley Muldowney, is going to meet former crew chief Connie Kalitta. It seems like every time I turn around, you two are running each other, and he says he's out to get you.
Well, that's all he can say. We all have confidence when we go in. Everybody thinks, you get by the first round, you have it won, but our car's the car to beat, and he knows it.
Right now, you're leading the points chase. It looks as though you're really performing well, a 565 with a 9 here. What about the car?
Car is great. It speaks for itself. It's been in almost every final this year. It's an Al Swindle car built up in Tacoma, Washington, and I hope a lot of racers don't go up and buy a Swindle car, because we'd have our hands full. It's an awful good piece.
All right, I shouldn't say if. I know you're going to get past Connie Kalitta in your mind. That means you'd probably be ending up with Mark Oswald, and he's number 2. And it looks as though, with Lucille Lee not qualifying, this is going to be a 2-person race.
I think it might be Oswald and I in the final, but that's right. We do meet him second round, so that's good. Try to eliminate him right off the bat, and the less points he gets, the better I'll like it.
And that gives you a chance to pad your lead in the Winston World Cup points.
Well, we have a more or less a padded lead right now, because the standings, the people are not aware that in the standings it doesn't show that we are actually a race down on everyone, so we can take points at another race where they can't. So we have really a very healthy lead right now.
So, as always, Shirley Muldowney, very confident.
Well, we kind of start out slow, and we don't put the cart before the horse, and we kind of creep up on it. And you don't have to be number 1 qualifier to win the race. That doesn't always make it happen for you, just consistency.
Thanks for talking to us. Good luck.
Thank you.
Top Fuel Eliminator at the inaugural North Star Nationals, kicking off the action with these 2,500 horsepower engines sitting behind the drivers, and the Winston World Champion getting the final touch to his engine by his crew chief is Jeb Allen, pulling ahead. He'll be on the tower side, the lane nearest our cameras here on ESPN's coverage of the North Star Nationals. Alongside of him will be the fastest dragster in the world today, and that is the Candies and Hughes car from Houma, Louisiana. Young Mark Oswald, the driver. Coasting to the stop comes Jeb Allen after his initial burnout. The burnout is a procedure that you will watch with all the cars, from Top Fuel dragsters to the slower stock cars. There may be something wrong on the Candies and Hughes car. Now it's pulling forward now. They apparently were just waiting for a second to get the engine started. Let Jeb Allen make his burnout. Marty?
You know, this is a tactic that the Candies and Hughes team has been using all week. They do a very low burnout, don't heat up the motor as much as some of the other teams. Seems to be working very well because they are running 256 in qualifying.
Out of Houma, Louisiana comes the team of Candies and Hughes, one of the long-time owner mechanic combinations in this sport. Paul Candies going back into the early 60s along with Leonard Hughes. Leonard himself used to be a driver, not only of a Top Fuel dragster, but the funny cars. And now he is the crew chief, the wrench, the engine builder, and the man that a lot of people attribute the tremendous success of this car. For Jeb Allen, here's a real story. He has won 10 national event titles. 10 national event titles in his career that dates back to 1972 when he was 18 years old and won the Summer Nationals. Both cars have completed the burnout. They're approaching the starting line into the pre-staging lights. The electronic device in the center of the track is the Christmas tree. That's what starter Buster Couch utilizes to send these two missiles down this racetrack at over 250 miles an hour. They're ready, and side by side, you see Mark Oswald out in front of Jeb Allen, and it is Mark Oswald. His elapsed time, 5:74, 5.74 seconds to cover that quarter mile. And for Mark Oswald, his speed, 256.41 miles an hour, and that is a new national record. The fastest time in the history of the sport has officially been recorded here at the North Star Nationals as Mark Oswald runs 256.41 miles an hour. And Marty, he said he could do it. They were not real happy with the performance of the car in qualifying yesterday, but boy, they came back today.
They made a few changes, wouldn't be specific, of course, but Paul Candies said they thought they came back with the right combination, and sure enough, 574 right out of the box and 256 miles per hour. As they say in drag racing, that is stout.
Our next pair are started and approaching the burnout area. And when we talk about a burnout, well, you can watch it kind of closely here as Jack Ostrander from Pontiac, Michigan comes up to roll through the water, gets the tires wet, and now he stands on it. That, folks, is what you call burning rubber.
And Ostrander really is the dark horse of the field. He really wasn't expected to qualify, but he came out the first round of qualifying session, ran a 577, made it into the show, but he never has matched it since, and he's a little bit worried.
This car is driven by Joe Amato. He comes from Old Forge, Pennsylvania, and Joe is a former pro comp racer. He used to drive an alcohol dragster, but decided they're very similar, and we'll be watching them a little bit later on. But the Top Fuel dragster is the ultimate accelerating machine in the world. There's nothing to compare with it in any form of motorsport. And Joe Amato says, why not put the nitro in and let's go racing? He's already been over 250 miles an hour. He qualified very well at this event, and his lovely wife backing him up into the tracks that he left as he came out of the burnout area.
You know, an interesting point about Joe is he's tied for 8th currently in the point standings with Jim Bernard. Bernard failed to qualify for this event, so with this round, he could move into sole possession.
Jack Ostrander has been recording some very good elapsed times lately. He is basically a Midwestern racer, does not travel the national event circuit that much. And Ostrander, a week ago at the Popular Hot Rodding Championships, was running 570s, and everybody at that point said his day may come very soon, and it did here. This was one of the toughest fields to qualify at this event, as the number 8 qualifier was Jeb Allen, and he took 5.81 seconds to cover the quarter mile in qualifying, and that was just number 8. The low qualifier is Jerry Beck at a 565 right now. Jack Ostrander with the rear view mirrors, and you say, well, what's he going to be looking for? What he's looking for, he's looking back at the engine to see if there's something going wrong, and possibly he can catch it before it destroys itself and save himself several thousands of dollars. On the far side of the track, Joe Amato, Jack Ostrander, and Amato with a big lead off the starting line. And Amato has got a good one going at the finish, 5.80, his elapsed time at 245 miles an hour. Jack Ostrander was concerned going into the first round, and justifiably so. 6.27 seconds. His speed, 222, just did not have the horsepower. So Joe Amato takes the win. You see it there, 5.80 seconds, and that's how long it takes to cover a quarter of a mile from a standing start. The starting line, which is controlled by the Christmas tree, which allows the racers to leave side by side, leave equally together, if they are right on time. And we can get into reaction times and things like that as we go on, but the Christmas tree is actually an electronic device. They have one yellow light and then a green, 0.4 of a second, as we have the starting line crew waiting alongside the next racers as our pair of cars that just ran, Jack Ostrander and Joe Amato, being pulled off the track. The track conditions exceptionally good here, as we have had record-shattering performances in all three categories, with the Top Fuel qualifying headed by that 5.65 second elapsed time by Gary Beck to put him in the #1 spot. Here is Connie Conrad Kalitta from Ypsilanti, Michigan. Connie Kalitta is a longtime drag racer. He won the 1967 Winter Nationals. Dates back his national event career back to 1965 when he was the Spring Nationals runner-up. Thus far this season, he has won the Grand Nationals up in Montreal, Canada.
Over guess who?
Guess who, right?
Shirley
on.
Muldowney.
Guess who's he's running this round? Shirley Muldowney from Mount Clemens, Michigan. A lot of stories going around about this Connie and Shirley situation. Connie was the crew chief for Shirley when she won her first ever Winston World Champion title, which was an awesome feat. The female in auto racing has generally been relegated to not a premier status until Shirley Muldowney came along. And she is the only person to have won a Winston World Championship title twice in Top Fuel Eliminator. She is currently leading the points chase, and as we heard her earlier, is very confident in her ability to go ahead and take a record 3 Winston World Championship titles.
Well, so far this year, she's got 4,936 points. She won the Spring Nationals over Lucille Lee. She won the Gator Nationals over Big Daddy Don Garlitz. Runner-up at the Winter Nationals. Runner-up at the Cajun Nationals. And, of course, we told you runner-up at the Grand Nationals. And she leads Oswald, Mark Oswald, by only 160 points as they come into this event.
So the lady driver, Shirley Muldowney, against her former crew chief, as she has raced many times before. And Marty, you talked with her before we got ready for this first round, and she is very confident. I've never heard her express in so eloquent a terms her feeling of confidence going into this race.
Well, she put it very bluntly, Dave. She said, they've got to catch me. I'm in front. My car is running well. Everybody's got to find Shirley Muldowney and catch me.
Well, the task now remains at hand to Connie Kalitta. Kalitta owns a flying service, has several small jets, flies both charters and baggage charters, or charter service that flies various and sundry components for some of the motor companies out of the Detroit area. And he got out of racing for a while, quit driving, decided that it was not really what he wanted to do, and devoted his full time to his business, but then came back as the crew chief for Shirley, and then got back in the car and has been very successful since that time. In 1981, he won the Gator Nationals and the Southern Nationals, or I'm sorry, that was Shirley, but in 1980, he was runner-up at the Winter Nationals to Shirley Muldowney. Connie Kalitta also was the Grand Nationals runner-up, so he's been there before, and he understands the pressure that can be building on a driver at this point.
They've raced 4 times this year, and they've split them, 1 a pair each.
All right, the rubber match, if you might want to call it that, between Connie Kalitta and Shirley Muldowney. Both drivers are putting all their concentration on the Christmas tree. And a red light start. Connie Kalitta gives it up on the starting line. A red light left at the starting line by Connie Kalitta gives the win automatically to Shirley Muldowney. 5.88 seconds. Shirley goes 236 miles an hour. A 590 at only 203, as Connie Kalitta knew he had left the red light on the starting line, and that is an automatic disqualification. What the red light means is you left just a bit too soon.
And just as we speculated, it's now going to be in the semifinals, Muldowney against Mark Oswald. And Oswald's going to have lane choice because he ran a better time.
In instant replay, we can look back and see. Now watch the wheels in the near. There they move, just perceptibly ahead of Shirley Muldowney, and that's all it took. Just literally hundredths, maybe even thousandths of a second too quick. Connie Kalitta lost it right at the starting line.